That's how they're getting on so far. Both teams on 1 win. We are in session 7 out of 12, so we are right in the middle of the round robin part of the competition. We have 10 teams. All teams play each other. So we have 9 games in the round robin. At the conclusion of round robin, the top 4 teams progress to semi-finals and then to medal games. Welcoming the teams on ice just shortly. There's still all to play for. Typically, the magic number is 6 wins out of 9. Pretty much guarantees you a place in the semi-finals. Plenty of teams have qualified with 5 and 4. So definitely, both of these teams still all to play for. The hosts, of course, Italy, they will be wanting to have a great game for their home fans. Wearing the dark blue uniforms and playing red stones today, that's the team from Great Britain. So from the left of your picture, that is 4th thrower and skip Hugh Niblo.
Italy.
You hear the team calling him Shug. 3rd, Stuart Pimblett. 2nd, Austin McKenzie, and lead thrower Karen Aspey. That's how they've been getting on so far. You can see close games everywhere. It's not like they're playing badly. This competition is truly wide open. And wearing white uniforms, big cheer from the home fans for the home team from Italy. On left to right, lead thrower Angela Minardi, 2nd thrower Matteo Ronzani, 3rd thrower Fabrizio Bich, 4th and skip is Egidio Marchesi. That's how they've been doing. Similar kind of journey to the British team. Just on the 1 win, but some close scores out there as well. All the teams finding their rhythm here in the competition, really getting used to this arena ice. Last little sustenance for Matteo Ronzani there. Teams will take the ice and just cool their wheels so that the wheels get to the same temperature as the ice and don't get sticky. There is the magnificent old stadium, fully renovated for this competition. That's how we're getting on at the moment, so close. All the teams still in the running there. Let's see all the fans arriving. And there we have, there's the coach for Great Britain team, Niall Ryder. He's had a successful career as a player as well. There is the coach for Team Italia, that's Roberto Maino. Both of the teams have 38 minutes thinking time and a coach interaction timeout should they wish. There's our ice conditions. Arena ice can be different from the ice at the curling club. Typically we don't play our league games in front of an audience of thousands. And it can just take the teams a little bit to get used to arena ice. The air currents are different, the temperature can be different. But the ice has been just super from what we've seen. So leading us off in the first end then of our featured game, that is Angela Minardi, the lead thrower from the home team from Italy.
13:50. Buona.
And she has played the perfect stone with her first throw there. It is Britain playing red stones. They have the hammer, the little graphic there. That means they have last stone in the first end. We'll talk about how we decide that. First throw of this session 7 for Karen Aspey. We have 10 teams in the competition. And as you saw, we have 4 sheets out there, so only 8 teams play at any time. So the draw is a little bit staggered. Not everyone has played the same number of games, but it sorts itself out in the end. And that's a lovely throw from Karen Aspey as well. Both of those stones then. The teams could have asked to put those stones straight into the circles, into the house. And why have I said that that's two nice stones instead, even though those stones are not in the circles? Well, that area out front, that's called the free guard zone. And all stones in the free guard zone, you can move them around, but you are not allowed to hit them out of play. They cannot go out of play until 5 stones have been thrown. So both of those stones there, the yellow and the red, are protected by free guard zone. That one from Angela Minardi. That one just slipping into the rings, and you see the difference. The British skip, Hugh Niblo, immediately saying, OK, let's remove that. All stones in that kind of area are danger stones. You can punch them forward towards the centre. You can use them to punch onto another stone.
Tiny, good, so much. Yeah.
But Britain not allowed to remove that yellow right on the centre line. It's protected by free guard zone. Second throw slipping into the rings, so they can now try to remove this one.
A bit wide, but it's not bad.
More than that, Callan. 4-9-9.
Karen Aspey just connecting with the edge of that yellow. Is it going to be enough to punch it out? Oh, it is, yes. It's a nice tidy throw from her. Good opening for Karen Aspey. You heard her teammate saying it was a little bit wide, so she really wanted to connect right in the centre of that yellow, but that's fine. First throw of this session for Matteo Ronzani. Both of these countries, Italy and Britain, have teams here in the 4-person format and in the mixed doubles. And not easy even to qualify for either wheelchair curling event. Ten teams here, 8 teams only in the mixed doubles event. Italy, of course, qualified as host, but also Italy consistently have been strong in wheelchair curling really since the beginning. We'll talk about the record for both teams.
Tiny, yeah.
First throw of the session for Britain's second thrower, Austin McKenzie.
3.5, 9-2.
Oh, that's a miss for him.
That was a very good throw.
It looked lovely. Were you on the brush?
The faster the stone is travelling, the less it will curl.
Did he ask for that?
It would curl eventually.
Yeah.
It had a curling sheet several hundred metres long.
But that's where you get the extra pace, is when it's a really good throw.
About 45 metres, a curling sheet, I think. And the faster the stone's travelling, the less it will curl in that distance. And Austin McKenzie just getting a little caught out with that. Throwing faster stone to try to remove the Italian counter. Not finding enough curl, so that gives an early chance to Italy in this first end. Get a second stone into play. That's fine too. That stone's more dangerous out front. As we said, those are 2 yellow stones that Italy can use again. They can punch them forward into the rings. So a stone just ahead of the rings. Yeah, you can see immediately Britain recognising the danger of both those yellows, wanting to remove them. And this is all to do with our objectives for the first end. It is Britain You have the last stone advantage, the little hammer there,
Good.
the graphic on the screen next to the British flag. If you have hammer, you have last stone. And we decide that before the game. If you're at the club, you typically just throw a coin or something, heads or tails, and whoever wins the coin
2
toss,
3/4, 875.
they get last stone advantage. That's a little bit random at this level. You have to earn last stone at this level. And what happens is teams have a short practice before the game begins. At the conclusion of practice, both teams nominate 2 players. One player throws a stone curling clockwise towards the centre. Teammate throws a stone curling anti-clockwise towards the centre. And cumulatively, whichever team is closest with their 2 stones, they have earned the last stone advantage in the first end. So in this game, that was Britain. They were cumulatively closer with their last shot draw. And that informs the strategy here in the first end. So Fabrizio Bech, his first throw of the session. Italy without last stone. They simply want to prevent Britain scoring. It's very early, first end, no score yet. Italy want to simply prevent Britain from scoring. And the best way to do that, your best strategy to prevent Britain scoring, is to keep attacking the centre. You think ahead to your last stone advantage with your final throw. The easiest way for you to score would be to have nothing at all, no stones in play. And you just have to throw one stone, land it in the paint, land it on one of the rings. That would be your easiest solution. And that's why we see Italy trying to block that path to the centre, trying to put us potentially stones of their own towards the centre first, trying to block the path to the centre.
Bad.
Italy don't really need to make points in this first end. It's very early yet. So they will just be wanting to make sure that Britain doesn't have opportunities to score, but that has got exactly the wrong angle. That is an unfortunate start for Britain's third thrower, Stuart Pimblett. He does remove the guard, but yeah, the guard redirects the corner guard there and spins itself right towards the centre. That's a very unfortunate result. But don't panic, Britain fans. There are a bunch of yellow stones lying around, but the good news is there's still lots of space, and Britain will have the final say in this first end. Italians realising that stone was pretty good already on its journey, and it really is. A little bit of early trouble for Britain. Home fans will be delighted with this start from their team.
13.5.
Tiny bit back. Yeah.
Full left.
Line's good.
Advantage Italy at this very early stage. We have a yellow close to centre.
3 3/4, 12-1.
Some stones out front guarding it. That's red going to hang around. Just about. That's better from Stuart Pimblett. Giving up a point here to Italy. Not the end of the world for Britain. Not a perfect start, but not the end of the world. But yeah, they just want to make sure it's no more than that. Of course, the Italian teams are really bringing the glam here. First throw for Guido Marchesi, and look at his glasses. Aren't they wonderful? We saw in Olympic Winter Games a couple of weeks ago, Mattia Giovanella of the men's team, his shoes were coloured in the Italian flag. Here we are here in Milano Cortina. It has been Milan Fashion Week even. The Italians really bringing the style on and off the ice. It is a stylish throw from the Italian skipper. Like we said, Italy, they don't need to make any points here. They don't need to score. They just want to keep the pressure on Britain, make sure Britain don't have space and opportunity for them to get points on the board. And Italy's objectives going awfully well in this first end. With a nice steadying throw here from the British skipper, Hugh Niblo. He is a veteran of the past 2 Paralympic Winter Games. First time at Paralympics for the rest of his team. And they will be looking for his experience.
13-6.
This looks better. That is a lovely throw from Hugh Niblo. I would call that an insurance shot. It doesn't quite beat the Italian counter right in the middle, but it cancels out all of the others. And it's found a good spot. There were quite a lot of yellows building up, and that has found a very nice spot just in front of the yellow that's closest just now. Difficult for Italy to remove that red without popping out their own yellow. That is a real good saving shot. Steady the ship from Hugh Niblo. That man in your picture, also a 2-time Paralympian before the games here. He played the last time Paralympic Winter Games were in Italy. That was all the way back in Torino in 2006. He and Angela Minardi, they were part of the team in 2010 in Vancouver as well, so plenty of experience on that Italian side. Yeah, that's a fine shot. Early doors. Italy's objectives really met for this first end. They have a stone right in the middle, and they are blocking the path to that stone. They have prevented Britain from scoring big here. The maximum score for Britain here, 1 red.
Big back. Front left. Tiny.
And a lot of work really for this stone to do to get 1 red. It's going to have to be pinpoint accurate from here. Some good target practice for Hugh Niblo. He was very, very good with his first throw.
3.5. 13-7.
And that's good. Just coming up a little bit short. That's why it's over curled a bit. And the home side and the home fans, they will be delighted with that. That was a steal. A point without last stone to Italy, who leads Great Britain 1-0.
lads. No. Let's play, so I'm playing guards.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Giving up a 1 there is not terrible.
Yeah.
So, it's not matter.
Strong start for the home team, Italy. They really controlled that first end and they are rewarded with a stolen point. It is 1-0 to Italy going into the second end. Angela Minardi then starting us off again in the second end. Britain retain the hammer, they retain last shot. Whichever team gets points in a particular end, they return the last stone advantage to their opposition. There's Angela Minardi. What a start she is having to this game. Look at that, that is a perfect shot again. No part of that stone touching the rings. That means it is protected by free guard zone. If you're really not sure whether part of the stone is touching the rings, it just needs a little piece. Not all the stone has to be in the rings. And if you're really not sure, that is the only time during an end when you can ask the official, could you measure this for me to tell me if it is in the rings, so not protected by free guard zone, or outside and it is protected.
3 3/4, 13.
The only time you're allowed to ask if you really can't decide. And that's a nice throw from Kevin Aspey.
Well done, Karen. Good throw. Yeah, good way.
Italy could remove that red if they want to. Not protected by free guard zone. We can play something similar. Angela Minardi playing very nicely. Just that nice steady weight towards the middle. That's also a good option. Typically in curling, there's not really a right or wrong shot. If you're making your shots, every shot is the right shot. But typically, it's a matter of risk or percentage. So that is an aggressive call from Italy. The defensive, conservative call would be to try to remove that red. You can neutralise your opposition either defensively, so removing their stones, or another way to neutralise your opponent's attack is to attack better. And that's what Italy are doing, playing towards that centre.
3 3/4,
Keep the play towards the centre, keep it busy, just like they did in the first end. Italy's objective, very similar.
Nice, Karen.
But that is the risk. If you play more aggressively, you run the risk of having more opposition stones in play as well. And a lovely throw from Karen Aspey. It is now Britain lying 2 points. Ronzani being asked to continue with this aggressive approach. This really worked for them in the first end. It's out attack, Great Britain. And as I said, when you're making your shots, there is no such thing as a wrong decision. And the home crowd loved that one. Lots of flags waving for Matteo Ronzani. Just using that guard out front swinging all the way in behind it, and you can just see that little hole. That's right in the centre of the rings. The home team off to a lovely start out here in the second end. Is fine from Austin McKenzie. A good friend of mine said, wants to be tactically, she's a very good tactician, rarely a bad idea to remove that centre guard when you have last stone. The centre guard, typically just a stone in your way, it is only helping the opposition, and indeed that's exactly what Britain have chosen to do. And now we can see the higher risk of going for this aggressive approach. Matteo Ronzani needs to be accurate again here. Otherwise there are 2 red stones hanging around that Britain could potentially bring back into play. Important that either the guard is perfect or that we get a second yellow into play. The home crowd enjoying that one again. That's nice placement from Matteo Ronzani. It's just slipping on a little bit. The small problem, if I'm being picky, those 2 yellows are relatively close together. And the closer together 2 stones are, the easier it is to remove both stones with one throw. Niblo recognising that as well. So another big throw from Austin McKenzie.
3, 8, 6.
Just the one. Well, Italy playing with fire a little bit here. If Italy ever make a mistake, or if Britain can make a double takeout, and you can see how close together those 2 yellows are. If Italy make a mistake here, then those 2 dangerous reds are hanging around waiting to be points, please. It's been a super atmosphere here in the Cortina Curling Olympic Stadium. It was a great atmosphere for the Olympic Winter Games, and the fans had really taken to this magnificent old stadium. Lots of noise, lots of singing, really creating a magical atmosphere out there. Well, Italy, they've taken the aggressive approach. And if you take that approach, you need to be accurate. And good news for Italian fans is that they are. There's a bit of cat and mouse out there. Italy putting up an aggressive stone, either blocking the path or getting a second yellow into play. Britain just removing it. Britain patiently waiting to see if they can get a loose shot from Italy. If your opposition refuse to make a mistake, if your opposition play 8 out of 8, it is all but impossible to make more than 1 point with your one last stone. Italy have taken the aggressive approach here. That's higher risk. Need to be accurate here. Pretty good. It covers about half that stone. And the angles are set up such that even if Britain connects with that Italian stone, I think they're just going to pop it straight back onto their own counter. That's the view from the throwing end. Yeah, we can see about half of that yellow.
Good.
But that yellow at the centre protected a little bit by the red stone behind it. Let's see. Removing the guard would also be fine here.
10-2.
That is the risk.
That was nice and smooth. That was
Now Italy facing a more difficult shot. Ooh, that held its breath going round that guard, making it round by molecules. But it is now finally a red stone in the centre. Like we said, Britain were just patiently waiting to see if they could maybe get a half shot from Italy, and that guard out front only covering half the stone. So Italy now facing a little bit more danger due to their aggressive tactic rather than if they had played defensively. It sounds like I'm being critical, and obviously more stones in play, that's more fun for us viewers to watch. I'm a hilariously defensive player because I'm from the 1980s. But hats off to you, Italy. It makes for a much more interesting game for us viewers when we play aggressive stuff, stones in play. Egidio Marchesi, he will be wanting to follow that stone they just saw from Britain. Get past the guard, he's urging that stone, hasn't though. That could be a costly one for Italy. We'll be looking at a difficult shot with his final throw. Egidio Marchesi. It is exactly what Britain have been waiting for. A mistake from Italy, and now we really can capitalise on it. Yeah, we need a lot of cheering from the home fans to support their team. They will need a good shot with their final throw.
Tony. Good. Not by much.
Five, 14-2.
That is a perfect throw from Hugh Niblo, British skip. And quite some danger for Italy here. 2, 3 reds counting at the moment. And they're all fairly far away from each other. I don't think you can remove all 3.
Obbligatevi. Cosa vuoi fare? Cerca una doppia. Ma non c'è la doppia. Non c'è la doppia, passa sopra. Cosa volete fare? Ma lui dice che c'è la doppia non c'è perché... No, ma vai, l'hai appena fatto il tiro. Appunto.
Deve venire appunto appoggiarsi.
Ce gliene lasciamo uno. Un po' veloci però. Però se poi è larga... Ok.
quanto viene?
No, ma tu lo fai. Diamo un appoggio, Big. Diamo un appoggio se gliela spingo un po'. Sì, lo fai, dai.
At this point, again, there's no right or wrong shot. It's about risk and reward. I think I would be tempted to hit something and try to limit the number of reds lying around.
Cosa, Angela?
But from the position of the brush, it looks like they're sticking with their aggressive strategy, Italy. Where Fabrizio, where he's holding the brush, that's not where they expect the stone to land. That is the skill of reading the ice. You aim for the brush, you add the curl, and then the stone lands in the target area. So brush plus curl equals target area. So there's a bit of work to do. It needs to curl, it needs to curl. And the fans like it. Unfortunately, I don't. You can see why. It's yellow that's closest to centre at the moment. I needed that stone to curl a little bit more, stay a bit straight, or rather punch the red a bit straighter, curl more onto the red, punch it back more straight, because the issue for Italy, yeah, you can see Egidio not so happy with that. The issue is that that yellow fully open for Great Britain. You can see all of it. There is a direct path to that yellow. And what an opportunity for Britain. Huge opportunity for Britain to put a big score on the board early in this game. This looks lovely. There was a direct path and no mistake from Uniblo. That looks like 3 red. Just missing out on 4, but 3 is a very big score at this level. And all of that coming due to that strategic call from Italy, deciding to go with the aggressive call. That is high risk, high reward, and the risk backfiring a bit. That is a score of 3 to Great Britain. Great response from them. They lead Italy 3 points to 1.
Well, that was good card getting that one in straight away. They're ignoring it because they can't hit well at that end. So we are going fast. Let's put it on the button.
Hey, a lot better end, yeah? Stay at this level now.
Great response from Great Britain, responding to that first end steal to Italy. Great Britain roaring back with a big score of 3 in the second end. They lead Italy 3-1 as we go into the third.
Bowden last time.
You want to see a perfect demonstration of the risks of aggressive strategy versus defensive strategy. Just rewatch that second end. Italy going for the aggressive strategy from the beginning, and you're always playing with fire. The more aggressive you play, if you're going to play the aggressive stuff, you have to get it right. Otherwise, you are risking a bigger score against you. And unfortunately for the home fans, that is exactly how the second end played out. But it is Italy now who have last stone for the first time in the game. Objectives then have kind of switched. It is now Britain that we will see attacking that centre. It is Great Britain who want to frustrate Italy. They want to prevent Italy from scoring points. Early in this end, only one Italian stone in play at the moment. That is the guard just thrown by Angela Minardi. And Britain just opting to try to use that guard, get to the centre first. Just coming up short for Karen Aspey. But that is another guard close to centre, and that helps Britain. The tolerance for that shot. Definitely more helpful short rather than long. Italy being sucked in a little bit to playing towards the centre then. There are two guards out front already. We see this kind of set up a lot in mixed doubles format. A lot of play towards the centre. And certainly that can work. It is that area that is obviously closest to the middle. That's the area you can get points. The flip side is that if both teams are playing towards the centre, it can get very crowded very quickly with stones.
Very close.
Pretty much like that. Strong start then in this third end for the British team. Their objective here in this end, limit Italy's scoring opportunities, and this is one way of doing that. You have a red nice and close to centre there. It's even ahead of that T-line, the thin horizontal line. That means it's hard for Italy to get a point better than that at the moment. If Italy want to score anything, they probably need to do something about that red on the centre. And that's not a bad result for Matteo Ronzani. He just nudges the guard away from the centre out front. And his own stone, we call that the shooter, his own stone, the shooter, just finding a little spot in the house. So for plan B, that's quite a nice result. Britain agreeing that the yellow just thrown by Matteo Ronzani, finding a very nice place Oh, has he got the pair? He has not quite, but yeah, that yellow from Matteo Ronzani representing danger. And as we saw in the second end, you have a choice there. Do you remove Italian counters? It's Italy who have last stone, so any yellows lying around could be a danger later. That's the conservative approach, is to just remove yellows. Yeah, Austin McKenzie just wondering if he got the right angle to get both yellows there. He didn't, but he did remove one of the dangers. They saw that not really working out for Italy in that second end. They're simply in the more defensive strategy. And similar shot there from Matteo Ronzani. Just popping that guard away from centre, opening up a path. And again, his shooter finding a nice spot in the house. There goes the guard, the red one. And Ronzani's shooter just spinning into the house. And same thing from Britain. We saw how the opposite strategy worked out for Italy in end 2. Italy left stones lying around, playing the more aggressive stuff, trying to out-attack Great Britain, but you need to be so accurate if you go that strategy. This is the more conservative approach. No yellows equals no points. Oh, and Stuart Pimblett just catching enough of that yellow. And you saw our ice player assistant there. We have them sprinkled all over the ice. They manage the stones in the wheelchair game. So that yellow just touches the bumper. And there you see the ice player assistant at the back there, just managing the stones, taking stones out of play, keeping them behind play so that they're not in the way. And at the other end, this end, the throwing end, the ice player assistant will do the same. There's the neat little row of stones on the left of our screen. And there she is, the ice player assistant. She will clean the bottom of the stone, make sure there's no little pieces of fluff or so. And then she will put the stone in front of the player. I've done that job. It's really hard. You really feel it on your legs the next day. All that bending down to clean the stone, standing up again. It's a good workout for your legs, I tell you. If you want an alternative to leg day, go and be a ice player assistant at a wheelchair tournament.
Tiny. Yeah. Smooth. Good.
Well
Bell,
done, Stuart.
Good from Stuart Pimblett. Again, just removing yellow counters. This is the more defensive approach from Britain. This is the other way to try to limit your the opposition opportunities for scoring. Just keep removing their stones. No yellows is no points. There is one yellow still hanging around. And now Italy have a chance to get a second yellow into play.
13,50.
Dimmi quando ti tengo. Ok.
Both teams on one win so far in the competition. We are just beyond the halfway point. We have 12 sessions for our 10 teams playing in wheelchair curling. It's the 4-person format, the traditional rules. The teams on one win so far. Typically the magic number is 6 wins to qualify you for semi-finals. But often possible to qualify with 5 wins, depending on other results. So all to play for still for both teams, and the home fans doing everything they can to cheer their team. That was a lovely throw from Fabrizio Weich.
Front left.
Quarter, 9-6.
Juneblo would love that red to stick around, and it does. That's a really fine throw from him. About as much as he can do. Remove the yellow, replace it with red. There was no double takeout available on those yellows. That's why the home fans were cheering for that stone that came from Fabrizio Weich. Juneblo just able to remove one Italian counter. And Egidio Marchesi with an opportunity to do the same. To hang around, but it doesn't go. And that is a bit of a gift to Great Britain. Italy really wanted that yellow to stick around as well. They wanted to just follow the same shot they just saw from Britain. They wanted that yellow to curl a little bit more towards the red. Just pop the red through and sit there itself. And Britain, they think they can see enough of that yellow to remove the second counter. Precise throw needed here from Juneblo. Doesn't see all of that stone. Oh, look at that. That is a great throw from the British skipper. Job done for Great Britain in this third end. Look at that, just squeaking around the guard. Now is a good opportunity to remind ourselves that in wheelchair curling, there are no sweepers. Once you release that stone, nothing can affect it. You do not have sweepers to try to help with the line, either to try to hold it straight or encourage it to curl. You do not have sweepers to drag it a little bit further with the stone slowing down. A lovely steady throw from the Italian skipper. Oh, look at that. That is a real nice confidence booster there. 2 British stones lying. Not worth trying a double takeout on them. Sometimes you just have to accept, yeah, you made a bit of a half shot earlier on in the end. Your opposition played 8 out of 8. And therefore, you are only going to score 1. But what a lovely 1 point that was. That's a real nice, steady the nerves shot for the Italian skipper. And that is a good score of 1 point, bringing the overall total after the third end. It is Great Britain leading Italy 3 points to 2. Both teams playing very nicely then. We are in the fourth end out of 8. At the conclusion of this fourth end, we will have a half-time break. It is Great Britain who have the hammer again. They have last stone, thanks to a beautiful draw to the button from the Italian skipper. That lady in your picture, Angela Minardi, having a really lovely game herself as well.
Heidi! Yeah!
That's doing just in the ring, so that means it's not protected by free guard zone. That means that Britain can try to remove it immediately.
It's good, it's good.
3 3/4, 9-8.
Karen Aspey also having a really nice game. Oh, I think that red is just going to hang around. That is a beautiful throw from her.
Really good throw. Really good throw. And it's stuck around.
Can be a little bit harder to remove a stone all the way over to the side of the sheet,
That's exactly
where that red is now. Typically play towards the centre is a little bit easier. The paths on the ice a little bit more worn, therefore more predictable. Angela Minardi then just dropping it a little bit shorter. Now that stone is protected by free guard zone. The other option would have been to remove that red. And again, Italy needs to be careful here. This strategy backfired a bit in the second end. They left red stones lying around. They went for the aggressive strategy. Let's get to the centre first. Let's attack that centre position first. You have to be very accurate if you're playing that aggressive stuff.
3 3/4, 13-1.
That's okay!
That is okay from Karen Aspey. You just need any part of the stone to be touching any part of the rings. And that does count. And we can see that red just hanging on by its fingernails out front there. If there's any doubt at the conclusion of the end, if a stone is in or out, and if that would be important, if the stone is in a scoring position, there is a special measure. It's called the 6-foot measure. Hundreds of years old, much older than the metric system. And simply more convenient for curlers to keep the same kind of terminology we've had for 500 years. So you will still hear people talking about the 6-foot measure. That is the radius from the centre to the edge of the blue ring. You'll also hear the players talking about 12-foot circles, so the diameter all the way across the blue ring, that's 12 foot. The white circle is 8 foot, and the green circle is 4 foot. The colours don't mean anything. You don't get better points if you're in the green rather than the blue. It's just to help your eyes, and also just to help guide your reading of the ice. Britain with last stone then. They already have a counter towards the edge of the sheet.
2.5. 13-1.
That's not quite what Austin Mackenzie wanted, but
Good weight, just inside.
not a disaster. The yellow out front there, fairly easy to remove. You can see that stone just curling a bit too much. He wanted to get around the back of the yellow and just punching the yellow forward instead. But that's a dangerous red now that's out front. So Italy learning from the second end, thinking, okay, we don't want to leave British counters lying around. That is a super shot from Matteo Ronzani, really solid. Oh, that hit and stick, hitting the red stone out of play and sticking around himself. Super shot from him. Very satisfying, that kind of shot. Big smile from Matteo Ronzani. The home fans really enjoyed that one. I sometimes think it's a little bit similar to the strategy in cricket, where you have the bowler who is trying to take the wicket. They're trying to get the ball to hit the wicket. And you have the batsman who's trying to defend the wicket. And who will prevail? And it's a little bit like that here with the curling strategy as well. Italy trying to limit British stones from scoring. Britain trying to get stones into position. Yeah, that's a miss there from Austin Mackenzie. Britain do have last stone in this fourth end. But we have handed a little advantage now to Italy. Score pretty even, but it is Britain who are +1. They're stone ahead. That means in this fourth end then, Italy, their first objective is to prevent Britain getting further ahead. But if they have an opportunity to pick up a point themselves, they would love that too. And at the moment, it is Italy who have some good stone placement here. And you can see Stuart Pimblett and a few other of the players. He has that gripper, the handle, just to steady himself, keep balanced while he's throwing. Ooh, that is a beachy one from Stuart Pimblett. That red, not out counting the yellow on the right of our screen, but that red in a very dangerous position, right on the centre line. That's a red Britain can use again. Very dangerous position for the shooter there. Moves the Italian stone and rolls to exactly the centre. And Italy recognising that immediately. Very dangerous shot. We want to remove it. Fabrizio Ricci also has a handle to keep himself steady, balanced while he's throwing. But if you want to try wheelchair curling, you don't need any adjustment to your day-to-day chair. These guys at this level, they have their own particular personalised bits and pieces, but if you just want to go along and try wheelchair curling, you don't need any adjustment to your day-to-day chair. The curling club will have delivery stick that you can use. Yeah, most of these guys have their own delivery stick that's adjustable, so they've adjusted exactly to their preference, but the curling club, they have a delivery stick you can use. And you don't even need to have a dedicated wheelchair curling club. There are, of course, dedicated wheelchair competitions and clubs, but even if you're the only wheelchair user at your club, at the club level, everyone can play together. It's highly inclusive.
3 3/4, time 2.
In fact, my own club team, I'm a foot player, I'm not a wheelchair user, but my own club team, if I told them, oh, I'm not available for a league game at the club, and if I asked one of our colleagues who's a wheelchair player, could they play instead of me? Yeah, that would be absolutely fine. My team wouldn't even comment. So if you're a wheelchair user or you have a friend or a colleague and they're looking for a new activity, wheelchair curling truly is very inclusive. The curling club, they would be very happy to help you. Just get in touch with them. They have everything you need, including teammates. In our featured game, Great Britain versus Italy, we're approaching the halfway. Oh, that is a peachy shot from the Italian skip, Egidio Marchese. So experienced. He's played in 2 Paralympic Winter Games before. He has played in multiple World Championships. And look at that, removing the red. And for an encore, just rolling towards the centre. Here's the angle we want to see. There we go. Sneaking in behind all that cover. This is much better from Italy. And such a good shot, in fact, from Egidio Marchese. Britain realising no opportunity to do anything about that yellow. And having to go all the way to the other side of the rings. What a shot from the Italian skipper.
Good.
If Britain want to score here, it will have to be what we call a skip's deuce. That would mean if Britain score 2 points, both of them will have to come from the 2 stones of Hugh Niblo. Britain struggling a little bit to set anything up in this 4th end. And yeah, that's not really where they wanted it. The line was nice, but coming up a bit short.
He said he was going down. What would I call? I would have got, personally, I would have gone down.
Italy taking note that that was the shot Britain were trying. Italy lying well just now. Look at that Italian stone. Egidio Marchese played with his first throw right in that 4-foot green circle. So the question for Italy is simply, okay, what would Britain like to do with their last stone? They would probably like to attempt a similar shot as Hugh Niblo just tried. Therefore, let's try to block that. That's a pretty effective shot from Egidio Marchese. Probably wanted it just to stop a little sooner. But it's found a decent spot where it is. Yeah, just stopping before the tee line, that thin horizontal line. That would have been really perfect, but that's found a decent spot. And some pressure now on this final throw for Great Britain. 2 yellows now flying. Fans delighted with their home team's performance in this first half. Just a bit of a loose end in that second end, but they've been very solid otherwise. And nice strong finish going into half-time for Italy. Will it be a strong finish for Britain as well? No opportunity to make more than 1 point now, 12. Great Britain. Oh gosh, that's not going to curl enough. That's not going to curl enough. And what an end from Italy. Both objectives met. They did prevent Britain scoring, and they even picked up 2 points themselves. That's a steal of 2 to Italy. The home fans going wild. And what a pick themselves up from a bit of a blip in the second end from Italy. And that red just not curling. It was a bit heavier than the yellow just played by Italy, and that means it didn't curl as much. A costly miss for Britain. It is a steal of 2 to Italy. And that means going into the half-time after the fourth end, it is Italy 5, Great Britain 3. They're telling the story of the game. Some very nice throwing, especially from Fabrizio B. Look at that, 84%. We'll come back to talk about percentages a bit later on. But this is some very good throwing from the Italian team. A real strong fourth end there to go into the half-time break on a positive note. Their coaches will be really happy with their team's performance out there.
Come il suo ego, però impostando con la guardia, perché se no lei boccia.
There's the Great Britain camp. Yeah, that really telling the story of the first half there. Those percentages a little bit down compared with their Italian counterparts. They had a good second end, but Italy starting to creep ahead a little bit in the first half. And that's what they'll be talking about, is just how to tidy up a bit, how to counter this good Italian play.
Stu will move up to third, vice skip.
There's the overview of the game so far then. And we can see it's really Italy. And the key statistic there is the draws. So the draw That is a stone that lands in the rings, in the house, and really Italy dominating on that one so far. And that is what has resulted in 4 stolen points for Italy. That's when you get points even without last stone. And that means that here at the Cortina Curling Olympic Stadium, it is Italy who are ahead after the first half, 5 points to 3. There's the situation. Good end for Great Britain in end 2, but Italy roaring back with some very strong play. It is Italy leading Great Britain 5-3 going into the 6th end. Substitution then in the British team. It's not quite like the mixed doubles format where you can switch around. Well, you can switch around whenever you want, but typically in the 4-person game, typically doesn't help much actually. But a substitution in the British team, it looks like Austin McKenzie coming off for the second half. Maybe just feeling the pressure, maybe just not having such a enjoyable game out there. So Britain just mixing it up a bit. It is a long week. There are a lot of games out there. 10 teams, 9 games at least for each team. Each team has an alternate player. And you see Graham Stewart for Great Britain team taken to the ice. Just to mix things up a bit. Change the energy. And that's what Britain needs, yeah. Let's cheer each other on. Let's keep each other going. What a game that lady is having. Angela Minardi setting up her team so nicely with her first stones. And if you play at the club, either wheelchair or not, and if you ever allow yourself to think that, oh, you know, it doesn't really matter what you do at lead, or you think, oh, you know, I guess you play lead if you're not as good as the others. That is not how that works at all. There is a direct correlation between Angela Minardi's very strong statistics and Italy being 5-3 ahead.
Non la puoi frenare, basta che sia dentro.
Karen Aspey just struggling a little bit with her draw weight. That's a stone that lands in the circles. Not quite as accurate in her setup play as Angela Minardi.
4, 13, 5.
I got 14.
That's not quite what she wanted. It is Britain who retain the hammer here in the 5th end. If you score points with or without hammer in the previous end, then the hammer, the last stone, goes to your opposition. It doesn't just go backwards and forwards in turn. The last stone stays with the team who did not score. So it is Britain who have last stone in the 5th end. And really what they don't really want is just giving centre guards to Italy to use. And that man, Roberto Ronzani, having a very strong game at second. Just being asked to remove British counters again. Italy really learning from that second end, where They played the more aggressive approach, but it didn't really work for them. And Italy really learning, okay, let's just remove British counters. That seems safer. There is our alternate player who is now on the ice for Great Britain. That is Graham Stewart. So a direct switch. Austin McKenzie coming off. For the second half, Graham Stewart coming on. It's always difficult to come in halfway through a game and you haven't been throwing stones. So yeah, don't be too hard on yourself, Graham Stewart. That's a absolutely decent start. It's difficult to come onto the ice.
It's a nice throw though, yeah.
You haven't been throwing stones. You have less of a feel for how the ice is running compared to your teammates. And I'm a little bit surprised to see those percentages for Matteo Ronzani. He's been having a good game, but that is a nice opportunity for us to talk about the percentage accuracy that we see there.
12,90.
First thing to understand is how do we generate these percentages? Well, each of the games out on the ice has a statistician watching. Based on the shot that the skip has asked for, the statistician watches the player throw and then they mark that stone out of 4. A stone that goes perfectly as the skip asked, that gets 4 out of 4. A stone that's more or less what we wanted gets 3 out of 4, and so on. That's how we arrive at the percentage. So it's always cumulative, that percentage that you see on your screen. What it's very important to understand is that the statistics and the percentage system, this was developed really with foot players in mind.
13.75. Go on.
And there are multiple reasons why each stone in wheelchair curling, so every shot in wheelchair curling, has a higher degree of difficulty for a wheelchair player than it would for a foot player. And the most obvious reason, and we've spoken about it already, is no sweeping. I'm a foot player, and once I've released a stone, I have 2 teammates eager and willing to sweep the stone, either to hold the line, encourage the stone to curl, drag the stone a bit further. None of that here. Once the stone's on its way, you cannot affect it, and that makes being accurate, it simply makes it harder. It is harder to be accurate because you don't have sweepers. It is also an increased degree of difficulty for wheelchair throwers compared with foot players. So I'm throwing a stone. You may have watched it in the Olympic Winter Games, not me personally. But all the power for a throw from the foot players really coming from that leg drive. You're really pushing out of the hack with strong legs. And really all the power coming from there. And wheelchair throwers, all their power coming from upper body strength. So that also increases that degree of difficulty, using only upper body power. That also makes achieving accuracy that little bit harder. And then finally, we had a nice view there of Stuart Pimblett throwing the stone. And it's one smooth movement for a wheelchair player to throw the stone. This is more like it. But it's, yeah, one smooth movement, just moving that delivery stick forward. There's no adjustment possible in the delivery. Whereas in foot curling again, once I've kicked out from the hack, I have about 3 or 4 seconds until I reach the hog line, the green thick line where you have to release the stone. So if I've kicked out a bit hard, I can hold the stone back a bit, or if I haven't kicked out hard enough, I can give the stone maybe a little bit of extra push. That's also not possible when you're using the stick delivery here in wheelchair curling. It's more equivalent to, say, a standing throw, a static throw for a foot curler. So all of those things really contributing to it being, it's just harder to achieve accuracy in the wheelchair game. And that's why we must always keep that in mind. When we're looking at the percentages, we must always keep that in mind, that achieving accuracy in wheelchair game, it's simply harder. And for example, that stone by Fabrizio Rich, I know from playing for hundreds of years that if I could have dropped 2 little sweepers down there, we would definitely have been able to hold that stone a bit straighter. And that's why it's really important to keep in mind those challenges, or just the higher degree of difficulty when we're seeing these percentages on our screen. As we said earlier on, though, at the club, the difference between wheelchair players and the foot players, it's not really the same as the difference here at the highest level. And at the club level,
On the quarter, 13.
it's absolutely fine for wheelchair and foot players to play in the same team, in the same league. And that's very normal in curling world. And that switch up in the lineup for Great Britain, that seems to be having a good effect. We now have 2 red stones for Britain, lying in scoring positions. What will Italy be thinking about here? What is a good result at this point in the game? It's the 5th end. We are into the second half, just into the second half. Italy are 5-3 ahead, they're +2. And so a score of 1 point to Britain. That's fine for Italy. It's one of those ends where a score of 1 to the opposition, that's fine, or even good for you. That's a nice steady throw from Egidio Marchese, removing one of the red counters, minimising red stones that can score. A score of 1 red in this 5th end. So a -1 for Italy, that's fine for them. That would make the overall score 5-4. And Italy would get the all-important last stone advantage back. What is a good result for Britain in this end? You are quite correct, it is exactly the reverse. They don't really want to score only 1 red here. They would love to score 2 or even 3 if possible. There's a super view of the delivery stick. Remember, the curling club, they have delivery sticks. You don't need to have your own. It's fully adjustable. And there you can see that little hinged part just at the end of delivery stick. That's what puts the curl on. The stone coming on the clockwise handle, curling clockwise towards the centre.
4.5, 12.5.
Do the stopping, it's going to. That is nice from Hugh Niblo. It is again 2 reds, 2 British stones that are currently counting. 1 stone each to come in the 5th end. Both of these teams on 1 win in the competition so far. Typically 6 wins out of 9. Typically the magic number. I have never seen a team not qualify with 6 wins out of 9 qualify for semi-finals. Plenty of teams have qualified with 5 wins out of 9. And that is the target for both of these teams here. Very important to win this game for both teams. Whoever wins this game, they still have a chance to make it to semi-finals. Whoever loses this game, they may struggle. Of course, that is a peachy throw he had. Absolutely fist in the air for Egidio Marchesi. Just following that stone down from Great Britain. The British stone just slipping behind T-line, and that is always the danger. With stones behind T-line, you leave space for your opposition to just follow it in, but they'll be then closer to T-line.
You like that? Yeah.
Big throw here for Great Britain. It's yellow line shot. You can see all of that yellow. You don't really want to let Italy get any further ahead here. This is curling nicely. This is curling nicely. That's a super throw from British skip Funiblo. They are rewarded with 2 reds. That's more like it from Britain. Very important throw. He needed to just keep curling that red. It needed to get that curl, get the right angle to just pop that yellow a few centimetres further away. And Britain will be delighted with that. Just switching up that lineup, just switching up the energy. That has resulted in a very important score of 2 to Great Britain. So that levels the scores after 5 ends. It is 5 points each. Such a precise final throw from the British skipper, and they are rewarded with a big score, very important score of 2 to level the scores as we go into the 6th end.
Three and a quarter, 12-7. Good. It's good.
That is good from Karanaspi. And Britain really just asking the question of Italy, if we put a stone straight into the house, into the rings, what does Italy do? They're deliberately putting the stone into the house, ignoring free guard zone, and really asking the question of Italy, okay, if we go into the rings, Italy could hit that stone if they wanted. It's not protected by free guard zone. Or Italy can start building stones of their own. And this lady on your screen having a super game. She's really done everything that has been asked of her. Really setting up her teammates for success. Thick green line, that's the hog line. You must release the stone at the throwing end, and that typically not an issue in wheelchair curling. You just position yourself behind the line, basically. And all of the stone must be over all of the line at the playing end, where we are looking now. And if not, then we will see an ice player assistant scooting on and taking the stone out of play. Again, yeah, I'm a little bit surprised to see Karen Aspie's percentage accuracy rather lower than I would have thought. But do please keep in mind the higher degree of difficulty for multiple reasons
13-6.
for all wheelchair shots. Really essential to keep that in mind when we're seeing these percentages in the wheelchair game. The percentages really developed for foot players. The percentages do not take into account the added degree of difficulty for a wheelchair shot. I've seen on social media loads of engagement with the wheelchair curling updates. Some people saying, so does that mean the wheelchair players are, can we think of them as even better than the foot players? And to a large extent, I kind of agree with that. That's to say, if we have wheelchair players with very high accuracy, they are doing that accurate play in spite of having multiple more degrees of difficulty. And another gorgeous throw from Angela Minardi. Graham Stewart has come onto the ice for the second half. Always difficult
3/4, 12-7.
to come on the ice when you haven't been playing. But take a bow, sir. That could hardly be any better. That's a lovely throw from Graham Stewart. Yeah, big smiles from him. Nervy stuff coming on halfway through a game. And you really want to play your best stones immediately. And Graham Stewart really doing that. Lovely throw from him. Now, you may remember the objectives we spoke about all the way at the beginning in the first end. The score then was 0-0. And we spoke about the team without last stone, just trying to limit the team who does have last stone.
Bravo.
The team that does have last stone, maybe would like to score a couple of points. But wasn't too much of a sense of urgency is the big difference back in the first end. We are now in the 6th end out of 8. We are running out of ends to affect the score. So the sense of urgency is a bit higher now for the team who does have last stone, that's Italy. So really trying to make positive use of that last stone advantage now. We're in the 6th end out of 8, so that means including this end, there are 3 last stone advantages still coming. And you need to start making the most of those now.
12-5, 4.
Scores are tied. Whoever wants to win this game, they need to start getting some points on the board. In contrast, the last 3 ends of this game, we're really getting to the business end of this round. Whoever does not have hammer, they need to be really careful to avoid giving up big points from here. You don't have loads of ends left anymore. A big score here could be decisive. You can hear the fans singing Forza Matteo. And that support really helping him on. Both teams really bringing their best shots to this sixth end. The home fans delighted. It's starting to look a little bit like a mixed doubles end. Lots of stones in play. Busy house, busy towards that centre line. There is a little pocket there, just in front of those two yellows. You have one crack at this, Britain. Try to really neutralise the sixth end. Pressure shot for Stuart Pimblett. He's also been playing very well so far. Here it's curling, here it's curling, here it's curling. Exactly like that. That is a perfect throw from that man there. If you're a Great Britain fan, you can address your thank you cards to Stuart Pimblett. He has really completely neutralised that lovely Italian play with that one throw.
Spingi questa, questa butta questa fuori e questa si allarga e tu rimani sopra qua con 9. Occhio alla linea.
Both teams still have a coach interaction if they wish. They have 38 minutes thinking time per game, but if you want to, you can stop the clock and your coach can come down to the ice for a 1 minute interaction. A fan of timeouts in the sense that I really strongly believe in just getting on with it. I don't like long discussions, or I'm a bit ambivalent even about timeout. I think, at least for me, I don't think it helps to disturb the rhythm. Just kind of pause the game and have a big discussion about something. Yeah, and that's about as well as Egidio Marchesi could have played that. What he wants to do is just try to make some space for his final throw. I'm sorry, that was Fabrizio Bich. Not yet on skip stones. This was about as much as he could do. He's just creating space. No possibility to get that red out with one throw. And Fabrizio Bich then just creating space for later throws. Oh, and talk of the devil, and the devil appears. There is a timeout called from Great Britain. I think that's very sensible. That was a really good throw from Fabrizio Bich. It is the red still lying, the red right in the middle, but that red looking a little bit lonely now. A whole bunch of yellows lying around. But they've called a timeout. Their clock stops. Their coach, Niall Ryder, will be on his way to discuss the options. There he is in the background. Let's hear what he says.
I think it's a little bit too early. They like just the same shot, and if you're toppy, that's okay. Because then if they make that early, kill the red, at least you've got one you can tap on the next. The situation's still the same, and then we do have that one that does come up short. We can then make it after we are first if we need to.
Yeah, it's good night. Oh, these kicking about. I like that.
Well, he's going to lose. He's going to lose 2 yellows anyway if he tries to play this. I think right into the middle of it, even if you're on the nose of the red's good. Zone 3's okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
An effective timeout for a Great Britain team. Just discussing the different options. They will be thinking not only of this stone, but as you can see from our little graphic, 3 red, 3 yellow still to come. And they will have been discussing, if we played this, then that gives Italy these possibilities. They will discuss it all the way through to the conclusion of the end. And I think I heard Niall Ryder saying he thinks just playing the same kind of shot that Stuart Pimblett just played towards that centre, drop it right on the pin, and I fully agree, if he can get the same shot actually, just drop this red right in front of his own red. That is exactly what I think is the best strategy. I jokingly refer to it as the most difficult shot in curling. The same shot again, please. And that shot coming up a little bit shorter, but that's fine from Stuart Pimblett. You can see his second throw there is right in front of his first stone. So it's not exactly where they wanted, but it is blocking access to that red stone. And that's a very effective throw from him. This is what the players were watching as the stone travels up the ice. Yeah, that's found a very nice spot there. It is difficult to reach that red with enough weight to both punch it back and curl enough to get there in the first place. Remember, the faster a stone is traveling, the less it will curl. And the balance of this shot is we want to move that red, we want to just punch it back off the centre. Doesn't need to go out of play, but we do want to move it off that centre spot. But the faster the stone's going, the less it will curl. And as we can see, that red just thrown by Stuart Pimblett, blocking our path. Big throw for Fabrizio Bich in his first Paralympic Winter Games. He will now forever be a Paralympian. Trying to make space. Oh, that's a little bit unlucky for him. He has moved some things around, but unfortunately that red still blocking the path to the centre. A little bit unlucky with that result. He has opened up the space at the centre, but critically, that red right on that centre line, still in his way. I often find in an 8-end game that the sixth end is particularly cagey. It's often pivotal, the sixth end. From the sixth end, you're kind of in the home straight with ends 7 and 8. The path to a win, typically very straight or very clear at least. Not necessarily easy, but often the path to a win clear for both teams at the conclusion of the sixth end. So if I had a favourite end in curling, I would say it's the sixth. That's good work again from Unibro. You can see what Britain are doing. They are just trying to keep stones close to centre. That little red a couple of stones ago, it was surrounded by yellow. And now it's surrounded by mixture, and Italy have now called their timeout. Let's hear what their coach offers.
Scopa centro rossa lì. No, di più qui.
Ah, c'è qua. Sì. Proprio quella.
No, no, io devo passare.
La limite te lo apri, La limite te lo apri.
Vieni, la limite la portare.
Ci sono. Mi piace.
Dai, dai! Giglio! Me lo fai, me lo fai. Senti lo scopo qui. in mezzo alla rosa.
A wrong decision at this point. Could be decisive. And that's why we quite often see the coach being called in the 6th end. Make sure we're making the right decision. As I said, ends 7 and 8, I kind of think of as the home straight. The 6th end, often decisive. From the brush position, it looks like the stone will be coming at pace. The most stylish man on the ice, Egidio Marchesi, already a 2-time Paralympian. This is his 3rd Paralympic Games. And that's not quite what he wanted, but that is a very good plan B. He has got rid of that red that was blocking his path. And now there is an open path to that red that's right on the centre. I think I might even prefer that result to what he was going for originally. I think he was trying to use those 2 reds and try to hit and roll off those, but I'm not sure he was ever going to be able to remove the red in the centre. Therefore, I think just taking that front red off, opening up the path to the centre, I think I might even prefer that.
Just a little.
Front left, quite a big one.
Last on for Britain in the 6th end. Pinpoint play from 3rd thrower Stuart Pimblett. And I really like that for a throw from Uniblow. It is still red line 1. He's getting a 2nd red into that centre area there. Great Britain, the idea of that is to place red stones so that you can't remove both of them. That's why he just punches that red a little bit. I think, though, you can remove both of them. And this will raise the roof if this shot works. Huge opportunity for Italy. Look at that focus. I think he can get both of these reds. He sure has. That has delighted the home fans. Here it comes, yeah, slightly unconventional angle, but he had all those yellows lying around. He had a bit of space to move those reds, and he did, and quite rightly, the Italian team delighted with that. And the fans are going bonkers in the stands. What a 6th end. Huge score with a wonderful throw. Huge score of 3 for Italy. They lead Britain 8 points to 5.
Ti posso fare un complimento, ma vaffanculo, va.
Dai, che bella, Teo!
A thrilling sixth end, resulting in a huge score of 3 points for the home team. The home fans, they have been cheering their side the entire game. Really cheering them on. And surely it is advantage Italy, leading 8-5 as we go into the seventh end. Another lovely start for Angela Minardi. She has barely put a stone wrong, making her teammates' lives so much easier with her accurate play today. Let's talk about objectives then for this seventh end. We play 8 ends. So we have this and one more end afterwards. If scores are tied after 8 ends, we will play an extra end, a one-end shootout to decide a winner. So it's easier to start from Britain's point of view. They need to get at least 3 stones, 3 points
18-5.
over this in the next end.
Still a gara, no?
If you're Britain, you really can't afford for Italy to get any more points here. We're running out of ends. Italy are +3. Even if Italy just scored 1 point here in the seventh end, that would make the gap +4, and to get 4 in one end, that is really a mountain to climb. So important here is that Britain cannot let Italy get further ahead. Critical that Britain score here. Now we know that if you score points in an end, if you get any points, then you give last stone back to your opposition, and Britain will have that in mind. Britain have to score points in the seventh end. They cannot let Italy get further ahead, but getting any points in this end for Britain, they will give up last stone advantage, and they know that. So in this seventh end, we will see Great Britain working as hard as they can to make the best use of last stone advantage. At a minimum, they need to use that last stone to score 1 point. But they really, 2 would make a huge difference. The difference between scoring 1 point and 2 points at this stage of the game, enormous.
Okay.
White was good.
Yeah, really all the pressure on the British team at the moment. They cannot let Italy get further ahead, and they know that whatever points they get here in the seventh end, they will need to give up last stone advantage. Therefore, they want as many points as possible before they have to give up last stone advantage. But they also need to take care that they don't try to push so hard to get 2 or more points that they end up getting in a muddle and not even able to get 1. Of course, another super throw from Matteo Ronzani.
Set the bush. Full left.
Too much.
Full left.
Britain need to just keep their concentration here. 3 points. It's quite an intimidating gap in a 7th end, but it's absolutely possible. They can get 2 points here in this 7th end. And then at least 1 in the 8th end. That would level the score. And then they could take their chance in an 8th end. You just need to take it shot by shot, make sure every shot counts. Graham Stewart, he's had a real positive impact coming onto the ice. Difficult to come onto the ice at half-time and get your best shots out immediately. Well, Graham Stewart really doing a super job coming on at 2nd position there. Such reliable play here from Matteo Ronzani. Italy's motto from here in the 7th and 8th ends, just keep it simple. They are plus 3 points. If they just keep removing British stones, no British stones equals no British points. And that is by far their best path, their best strategy at the moment. If Italy can remove British stones, that is absolutely the safest idea. Stewart just removing a Italian counter. In the perfect world, he wanted to roll in behind the stones on the other side of the sheet. The stones on the left of the sheet as we see it. Remember, fewer stones favours Italy, more stones favours Britain. The more stones in play, as we saw from the 6th end, the more stones in play, the more opportunity you have to score big. If there aren't stones in play, particularly guards out front, it's very difficult to generate big scoring opportunity. Good work from Fabrizio Beich. Britain need to start playing a little bit more aggressively here in the 7th end. Another saying you hear plenty in curling is you don't get shots back by hitting, which is true.
Good.
We saw in the 6th end, it's a busy end when there's lots of stones in play. That's when you're more likely to grab a big score like Italy did.
Good.
Doesn't really want to remove the yellow anymore, Stuart Pimblett. And he's this red to stop, and it's not going to. And deep breath, Great Britain. Need to steady the ship, stone by stone, shot by shot.
Arriva qua, sì.
Togli la guardia rossa.
Puoi anche
Pic, anche se viene a frisco è
Togliamo la
meglio.
guardia. O togliamo la guardia.
Togliamo la guardia lì.
Sì. No, dammela da fuori, Gio.
I have to say, this was my instinct. Was the only shot that can do you any harm at this point is that red guard. This is ultra conservative, but yeah, Italy has a game to finish here. They want to get a 2nd win on the board. The only stone that can really hurt you is that red guard. So if you just take it out of play, there are no more stones to hide behind. You make your own life much easier. Here's an interesting situation. Not quite finding the angle he wanted, Fabrizio Bich. He really wanted to roll away himself as well. And you don't see this very often, but that yellow now not over the line. Here it goes, boink, and the yellow just sits on the line. Now that yellow stays in play. The red itself, the red was in play. It was fully over the line. And if you hit a stone that was fully over the line, your stone stays in play as well. So that's why that yellow, in a rather unusual position of sitting astride the line now, but the yellow is still in play because it hit a stone that was over the line. So still a bit of danger then for Italy. You can see Britain immediately trying to use that stone out front. Stuart Pimblett overcorrecting a little bit. His first stone travelling on a bit too far, and that stone coming up a little bit short. Everything coming up Italy in the 7th end. They're really in control here. The situation looks good for Britain to score 1 point. But remember what we said about scoring here. If Britain score 1 point, they know they will have to give up last stone advantage back to Italy. And if they score 1 point, that would make the overall 8-6. And getting 2 points in the 8th end without last stone, that's a much more difficult proposition than trying to get 1 point in the 8th end without last stone. So a picture of concentration on the Italian skipper's face. He has so much experience at this highest level. And the crowd really cheering them along here. And that's another lovely throw for the crowd to celebrate. Really nice work here from Italy. We've had a really magical atmosphere here in the stadium for Paralympic Winter Games and Olympic Winter Games a couple of weeks ago. It's a magnificent old stadium from 1956. The 4th wall used to be completely open. And you have a beautiful view of the Dolomites surrounding the town here. And now it's a glass wall, so you still have the view. And the crowd really loving this beautiful stadium. We didn't have curling in 1956, but we have well and truly made it our home for these Paralympic Winter Games. Decent throw for Uniblo. I think though Italy will, they will just try to remove that red, and then their objective for 7th end absolutely 100% complete. Opportunity for Egidio Marchesi here, but that's a rare miss from him. That's about the first bad stone he's thrown. And well, right at the conclusion of this 7th end. Britain does have a chance to score 2 points. Yeah, frustration there for the Italians. I think it is still that yellow next to Stuart Pimblett's brush.
You like that?
I think that's still the closest, so they have to do something about that yellow. And critical is that this red hangs around as well. That stone's curling though. This stone's curling. Well, he meets objective 1, but not objective 2. That's only going to be 1 red. And frustration for Britain. They will not get a better chance to score 2 points at this critical juncture in the game. That stone just curling too much. He's catching his own red. He does punch that yellow through, but takes a bit of a redirection. That is a score of 1 though. This game still alive. It is going into the 8th end. Italy 8, Great Britain 6. We have a buoyant crowd here in the Cortina Curling Olympic Stadium. Their home team are doing a magnificent job. Advantage Italy. They are 8-6 ahead, and they have last zone advantage as we go into the 8th. And will it be final? And
15. 15.
all the pressure on Great Britain now. We are in the 8th end out of 8. If scores are tied at the conclusion of this end, we will play an extra end to decide a winner. And what needs to happen during this 8th end? Well, it is truly advantage Italy. They are 8-6 ahead, plus 2 points. They have last zone advantage. And we will see Italy doing in this 8th end what we call playing the scoreboard. Italy want to be as low risk as possible. And that's an interesting shot. That is the most conservative start that they could choose in the 8th end. We have seen that lady in your picture, Angela Minardi. She has had a super game, but that was on purpose. She played that yellow at weight, make sure it goes through the back. That was on purpose. So that wasn't a mistake, or she doesn't get 0% for that. We say that she was throwing that stone away. She doesn't want that stone to do anything. Why is that? Well, we saw in the 6th end loads of stones in play, and that's when there's danger. It's Britain who wants loads of stones in play. It's Britain who need to get 2 points here somehow. And that is really a pity for Karan Aspe. a difficult shot she was being asked for. She was being asked for a stone that was slow enough that it just creeps over the line and no more, and simultaneously fast enough that it just creeps over the line and no more. And that's a pity for her. She's had a pretty decent game. And same again from Angela Minardi. The most conservative approach for Italy is to just have as few stones as possible in play. So yeah, happy salute from Angela Minardi. That's a very nice position to be in when your team's a few ahead and you don't even want your stones in play. You call it throwing it through the back.
Way back. Good throw.
3 3/4, 14-7. Good.
So this is the right idea from Britain. We will see them just keep piling in guards. They are just, the free guard zone is finished. That was the 5th stone. The free guard zone is finished, but this is the most likely way they can get the 2 points they need is to just try to keep stones in play, try to keep stones out front, try to get a mistake from Italy, and swing a stone in behind that. And as we said, Italy doing the reverse. Goodness me. He has had a superb game, Matteo Ronzani, and with one throw, he sprays both red stones. What a shot from him, just clearing out the whole house, or the guards in front of the whole house. Nothing out front, and life not getting any easier for Great Britain. You will see them just try to replace guards. They need a mistake from Italy. If Britain are going to score here, they need a couple of mistakes from Italy, and the most likely way to get a mistake
3.5
is to
13-7.
play a guard like this, so a stone in front of the rings. And a mistake from Italy would be to either miss that guard, or if they get the angle wrong, and we've seen that happen once or twice, and leave a yellow stone lying around. What a throw from Matteo Ronzani with his previous throw. He just wants to do exactly the same, please. Just like that. And goodness me, that man has earned his lunch today. And you can see the issue for Great Britain when there are no stones out front. How do you hide a stone here? How do you try to get 2 points? You are relying on Italy missing shots. Yeah, you still need to throw a couple of guards up here. Yes. No, not that. Yes, a guard. You need mistakes from Italy. You need some missed shots.
Good.
And the chances really dwindling for the British team here. Really, whatever Britain throw from now on,
1.5
we will see Italy hit it. What would Guido Marchesi, what would he like to be looking at with his final throw of this 8th end? It's not a trick question. What he would like to be looking at is nothing at all. He would love to go down to the other end to throw his final shot and have no stones at all. He just has to, we would say in Scotland, find the paint, just dunk a stone anywhere in those rings. That's his ideal situation, and that's what he's thinking about as he asks Fabrizio Wieck Same again, please just remove these guards. This is fabulous stuff from the Italian team. Such a confident performance. And again, I want to emphasize, keeping the 8th end as clear as it is, that is not straightforward, even if you're a foot curler at the club and you have sweepers to help. You're using leg drives to get that power for these fast stones. Setting up such a space like the Italian team are doing here, that's not easy as a foot player, and it is just sensational when you add the degree of difficulty for wheelchair players. We are on session 7 out of 12. Plenty more games out there, and that is the mistake that Britain need. Doesn't matter too much to Britain whether it's a red guard or a yellow guard. And that's a shame for Fabrizio Weich. As I said, this quality of keeping the 8th end clear
13 choke
is really an example here. But Britain have finally got a mistake from Italy. Italy not hitting and rolling, they hit and stay, so there is a guard out front that Britain can use. The accuracy fairly similar at most positions, and what that tells us really is that Italy have made some really key shots at key times. Critical to British hopes then, Funiblo needs to use that one stone left out front there, that yellow. He needs to get in behind it. He's done that very, very nicely. That is a great throw from him. Again, all they can do, Britain, is try to set themselves up with a chance. It will be Italy who has the final say in the 8th end. They have last stone. Crowd willing their team to get this over the finish line. And actually removing either stone here is absolutely fine. He needs to remove one or the other. He's happy to remove the red. Then the game may even be finished at that point, but even if he removes the guard, he should have a straightforward conclusion. Enough though. Of course, this 8th end going to the last stone after all. And there's a wonderful homemade flag there. Not catching enough of that red though. This is as much as Britain can do. Britain have also played well in this 8th end. All they can do is try to set up chances, try to get mistakes from Italy. The most difficult shot in curling then. Same again, please, from Funiblo. best that Britain can do is have 2 reds, counting points. Is it going to get there though? That is going to drop short. And Italy don't need to throw their last stone here. No possibility of making 2 reds. So Britain offering handshakes. Congratulations to Italy. Fabrizio will be really enjoying the great atmosphere here. The home fans, what a game to come and watch. They're delighted. A wonderful victory for Italy. Yeah. Big celebrations from the home fans. Italy keep their qualification hopes alive. They will move to 2 wins. Britain's path to qualification, they will be relying on other results from here. And some good stuff going on from Britain, but just a little bit more consistency from the Italian team. Really strong win from them. They will take big confidence into the next round. There is our final score then. We don't need to count. The 8th end not needed, and that means the score remains a victory for Italy over Great Britain, 8 points to 6. Delight for the home team, delight for the home fans. Some really strong performances. As I said, those percentages really come from the foot player game. To have such strong percentages in spite of the degree of difficulty for wheelchair throwing, that is absolutely worth celebrating. Commiserations to Great Britain. They had a lot of good stuff going on out there, but just not quite getting the same consistency as Italy, not quite stringing consistent shots 8 out of 8. So a big thank you to all the fans who keep bringing this wonderful atmosphere to the stadium. There is the story of the whole game. And just as we saw at half-time there, the accuracy, Italy a little bit higher on the accuracy score, but really Italy making important shots at the right time.